Today we leave Madrid on a day trip to visit Aranjuez, a destination of such value that in 2001 UNESCO included the cultural landscape of Aranjuez in the list of the World Heritage Sites. Hola, ¿qué tal? Hello! Welcome to the channel. There is no shortage of sensational day trips from Madrid, and we sincerely believe that today's trip also fits that description. Among the reasons that led to include Aranjuez in the World Heritage List, UNESCO speaks of it as an example of a complex relationship between man and nature, articulated through canals, irrigation ditches, gardens and palaces. A place where the characteristics of the French Baroque garden of the 18th century meet the way of life of the Age of Enlightenment. In the video you will get to know this remarkable cultural landscape. We will talk about where Aranjuez is, how to get there, what is the ticket you have to buy. We will talk in detail about the palace and gardens that make up this cultural landscape. We will see how much time to dedicate to the visit. And finally, we will leave you a suggested itinerary for the visit, including a stop for lunch. Aranjuez is a town almost 50 kilometers from the capital of Spain. It has 60,000 inhabitants and belongs to the community of Madrid, although it is a short distance from the province of Toledo. The Tagus River, Tajo in Spanish, crosses the town from east to west, and it is precisely along the river where we find the elements of the cultural landscape of Aranjuez that we will visit in this trip and of which we will give many details throughout the video. There are two basic ways to get to Aranjuez using public transportation. You could take the intermunicipal bus 423, which leaves from the Estación Sur de Autobuses coach station next to the Méndez Álvaro metro station and will drop you off in the center of Aranjuez 60 minutes later. The price of the single ticket is €4.20 and you can buy it from the driver. Or you could get on the C3 line of Madrid's suburban trains at Chamartín, Sol or Atocha, a service that costs €4.05 and will leave you in Aranjuez 45 minutes later. You can pay in two different ways, with a contactless bank card or with a ticket purchased at the machines. If you want to pay by contactless card, just look for a barrier with a sign shown on the screen. Tap the card at the reader on the top and enter. You will have to repeat the same operation at the destination station when exiting. The system will calculate the distance traveled and charge your account for the amount of the trip. A single card can be used to pay for the journeys of several people. The advantage of this payment method is that you do not need to buy a Renfe and TUI card. Visa and MasterCard are accepted, both credit and debit. If you want a ticket, look for the ticket vending machines to buy yours for the ride. Let's go to the machines to see how to buy them. There's something perverse about those Renfe ticket machines. No matter how we try, we can never get it to show the English version of the menus. So here we are with the Spanish menus. Select Adulto Ida. We're buying a one-way ticket for an adult. On the next screen you will be asked if you want to use your Renfe and TUI card. If you do not live in Madrid or have not used the airport train, you will not have this card, so select No. If you have the card, we will explain what to do next. Another message will appear telling you not to throw away the Renfe and TUI card, as it is reusable. Click on Sí. Yes. On the next screen you have to select the station you want to travel to. Tap on Aranjuez. You will see a summary of the purchase. If you want to buy more than one ticket, tap on the corresponding button to select a larger number. Here we're going to buy a single ticket. Touch on Confirmar. And now it is time to choose the payment method, which can be cash, card, or Renfe credits. Once the payment is completed, the ticket will appear at the bottom of the machine. If you already have the Renfe 2 card, when asked if you want to use the card, say sí, yes, and place the card in the reader at the top of the machine. The rest of the purchase process is identical. The only difference is that you will not pay 50 cents for the card, which you already have. When you finish your purchase, you will remove the card from the reader. You will need to have one card for each person traveling with you. Once the trip is over, do not throw the card away, it is reusable. The Renfe 2 card is individual and cannot be shared. We have illustrated how to buy a one-way ticket, but if you buy a round trip, you no longer have to worry about buying a return ticket in Aranjuez. The tickets are valid for any train on the line. They are not tied to a specific timetable. The round-trip ticket costs twice as much as a regular one-way ticket. Now locate on the screens the platform where the C3 line runs in the direction of Aranjuez. Go down to the platform. Be careful because trains from different lines can run on the same platform. The C3 usually runs on platform 7, but other trains to other destinations also run on the same platform. Make sure on the screen that the train you are going to take goes to Aranjuez. This information appears shortly before the train enters the station. Get on the train, sit down and relax. In 45 minutes you should arrive in Aranjuez, the last station on the line. Aranjuez train station is a beautiful building from the first half of the 20th century, built in neo-Mudéjar style, imitating a singular artistic style in Spain. Mudéjar, for those who do not know, was a Hispano-Muslim artistic style. When you leave the station, turn right, walk until you reach the Carretera de Toledo and turn left onto it. The road will take you directly in a 15-minute walk in front of the Royal Palace. Of all the places we are going to visit, only one is paid, the Royal Palace, with the exception of Wednesdays and Sundays after 3 p.m., when the entrance is free for European Union citizens and Latin American citizens as well. If you are in this group, you will have to bring an official ID to enter for free. This free admission can only be picked up at the ticket office. If you go on a paid schedule, you can buy your ticket online on the website of the Royal Palace. We will leave the link in the first comment below the video. Recently, Patrimonio Nacional, National Heritage, which manages among others the Royal Palace of Aranjuez, began charging a management fee for those who buy tickets online, a practice that annoys us greatly. You are already doing them a favor by doing the work of buying the ticket, and now they want to charge you for it. If, like us, this practice bothers you, you can buy the ticket directly at the palace. Except on exceptional days, you will not find the huge lines usual in, for example, the Royal Palace in Madrid. Having settled the practical and logistical aspects of the visit to Aranjuez, let's get into what you are going to find and visit in the city. In the cultural landscape of Aranjuez are included a number of elements. In the map, we identify now the main ones that we will visit in this trip, which are a little bit of the historic center, the immense gardens, and the palace. This cultural landscape is the result of decisions taken over 4 centuries by successive Spanish monarchs, in a long timeline that goes from Philip II in the 16th century to Isabella II in the 19th. The initial decision came from Philip II, who established a royal site, that is, a royal residence in Aranjuez. As part of that project, between 1565 and 1586, under Philip II, construction began on the Royal Palace, an initially square building. It was a building in a very characteristic Habsburg style, combining white stone and brick. Under Philip V, between 1715 and 1733, one of the wings of the palace was erected. The northern wing was completed years later. Between 1771 and 1778, under Charles III, the works were completed, leaving the palace very similar to how it can be seen today, with the 2 wings that leave the palace in a U shape. The palace impresses already from its grand staircase, which leads to the first floor, where most of the rooms you will visit are. The decoration of the large rooms of the palace that you will get to know during the visit belong mainly to the Bourbon era. You will pass through the Queen's Boudoir, the ballroom, and the throne room. Among so many beautiful places, two very surprising ones stand out. The first one is the Arab Cabinet. It is inspired by one of the rooms of the magnificent Alhambra in Granada and was built in the mid-19th century under the direction of a restorer of the Granada Palace. Between the simulated tiles and the polychrome plaster walls and vault, a decoration is created that transports you to places far away from Aranjuez. The second space, even more extraordinary if possible, is the Porcelain Cabinet, a work of the Royal Porcelain Factory of the Buen Retiro Palace in Madrid, commissioned by King Charles III. The room is richly decorated with all kinds of oriental figures, including dragons, fruits, and monkeys. The Palace of Aranjuez is a place that justifies a visit to the town, but there is still much more to see. Next to the palace is the King's Garden, which was designed to be another element of the palace, already in the 16th century. It was designed by Juan de Herrera, the same architect responsible for the Escorial Monastery. The garden has a cross plan and 8 squares with a fountain in the middle. On the walls, busts representing Roman emperors. On one of the walls of the palace there is a statue of Philip II surrounded by Charles I and Isabella of Portugal. On the opposite side of the King's Garden is the Queen's Garden. It does not have a perfect rectangular format because in its design it had to follow the curve of the river. The space occupied by the garden was empty for many centuries. The garden was planted in the late 19th century. It has a central stone fountain with a sculptural group consisting of a couple holding a fish. The Parterre Garden is at the rear of the palace and was made between 1728 and 1735. It is one of the few examples in Spain of a classical French garden. The garden is organized around 4 fountains. 2 of them represent the Nereids. Another is the Fountain of Ceres, in whose pond there are 3 sculptural groups. And finally there is the Fountain of Hercules and Antaeus. Despite the signs advertising the hours of operation of the fountains that you will find in different parts of the park, in our experience, seeing the fountains in action is a real lottery. When we visited the Parterre Garden, the fountains were clearly out of service without any warning. A pity. The same was true of quite a few fountains in the Island Garden, which we will visit shortly. Connecting the palace area with the historic center of Aranjuez is the Plaza de San Antonio, the Square of St. Anthony, a large arcaded square that served as a connection between the palace area and the city. It is also known as the Plaza de Mariblanca due to the presence of the Fountain of Venus, whose popular name is Mariblanca Fountain. The square was presided over by another fountain, with an image of King Ferdinand VI, but in the second half of the 18th century, Charles III ordered its removal, and later the current Fountain of Venus was erected in its place. Its resemblance to a fountain in the center of Madrid made it become known as the Mariblanca Fountain. At the end of the square, opposite the palace, stands the Church of San Antonio, a Baroque temple with a circular floor plan. The garden of Isabella II is located next to the Plaza de San Antonio. It was one of the first public gardens in Spain. It was built in the first half of the 19th century in a place that had been used for horses to rest. Its name changed several times through history. It has the shape of a cross with a circular square in the middle. In the center, there is a sculpture of Queen Isabella II as a child. We move scale to see almost completely the magnificent island garden, Jardín de la Isla, located north of the palace. It is so named because it occupies an artificial island between the river and a canal. Its creator was Philip II, who wanted a garden that represented paradise. Along a large central axis with rectangular squares, a large number of fountains are arranged. several successors of Philip II were responsible for reforming the iconography of the garden. The garden is populated by numerous sculptural groups and fountains, which shine in a unique way when they are working. Access to the garden is by a bridge next to the Queen's Garden, next to the palace and the Castañuelas waterfall. And once again, it becomes inevitable to change scale in order to take in the immense Jardín del Príncipe, Princess Garden, the largest of the gardens that are part of the cultural landscape of Aranjuez and one of those magical places that you will not want to leave. From one end to the other, the garden is 3 kilometers long, and its conformation as a garden, with its corresponding enclosure, took place at the end of the 18th century. It was originally accessed through 15 gates. The main one is next to the palace. Charles IV unified in a single garden several spaces that already existed in the place. The work was completed in 1808. The gardens are very extensive, and in them you can enjoy nature and breathe fresh air while contemplating magnificent specimens of trees. On the map you will now see the most outstanding places in the park that we would not miss. We will talk about them right away, but you should know that the Casa del Labrador, a whim for the recreation of Charles IV, is closed for renovations and cannot be visited. The Russian Mountain, also known as Swiss Mountain, is an artificial hill whose summit can be climbed following a circular path and has a neo-Gothic pavilion at the top. One of the most charming corners of the garden is the Chinese Pond, of irregular format and with 3 islands inside, where a classical pavilion, a Chinese pavilion and an obelisk stand. In the Fountain of Apollo you will see on a rock a sculpture of Apollo. It is a traveling fountain. The original was in the Palacio de la Granja near Segovia, but Charles IV had it moved to Aranjuez. In 2000, it returned to its original location, and what you see today in the gardens is a replica. The Fountain of Narcissus is one of the few that the authorities put into operation for a few minutes at certain times of the day. And although it may seem a truism to say it, it is obvious that a fountain in operation reaches levels of beauty frankly superior to one that it is disconnected. Try to see it when it is in operation. The original fountain was from the time of Charles IV, but was destroyed during the French invasion and replaced by another one made in 1827. 4 Atlantis secure a pedestal where the figure of Narcissus stands. The sculptures are made of lead and painted white. The pier, embarcadero in Spanish, next to the river, has several elements of a military nature and had a battery of cannons to make the salvos when the royal family sailed down the river. Finally, in the Princess Garden there is a curious museum, the Museo de Faluas Reales, the Museum of Royal Barges. The faluas were the pleasure boats used by the monarchs to navigate the river in Aranjuez and other locations as well. The museum occupies a 20th century brick building erected where there used to be a garden. Inside are preserved 7 large barges, some of them really beautiful, especially the wonderful gondola of Charles II. The entrance to the museum is paid, but if you have bought the ticket to visit the Royal Palace, the entrance to the museum is included without having to pay more for it. If you are wondering how much time you should spend touring the cultural landscape of Aranjuez, we will tell you that, at the very least, you should dedicate a full day, just to see what we have shown you in the video. If you also want to take a boat ride and get to know the city, we recommend that you sleep in Aranjuez. But arriving between 9:30 and 10 a.m. and returning to Madrid at the end of the day, you will have time to visit the palace and tour the gardens. how to organize your visit to Aranjuez. We are going to leave you with a suggested itinerary, but feel free to alter it as you wish. It is important that you check, and we will leave a link below the video, the hours of operation of the fountains so you can adapt your visit to those schedules, which change depending on the time of the year. Leaving the train station, you will take a long walk or take a quick cab to the Puerta de la Plaza Redonda to visit the Princess Garden, a long visit that should include the Museum of Royal Barges. Leaving the garden, quickly visit the Garden of Isabella II, the Plaza de San Antonio, the Parterre Garden, and the King's Garden before entering to visit the Royal Palace. And after the visit to the Royal Palace, visit the Island Garden before returning to the station. By the way, you may be wondering, when am I going to have lunch? We did it when we were already in the vicinity of the Royal Palace, having visited the Princess Gardens. There are two very classic restaurants in that area, each one on one side of the river. The restaurant El Rana Verde on one side and the restaurant Matilde on the other. We chose the latter and were very glad of the choice, a very nice restaurant with pleasant service. We ordered the Menú del Día, the set menu, which for €15.20 included a first course, a second course, bread and a drink. For starters, we had a Mediterranean green salad and a broccoli and goat cheese risotto. For the main course, we both craved the baked codfish with potatoes. We also ordered the same dessert, a cake filled with coconut and chocolate. Everything was delicious except for the dessert, which was a bit weaker. A final tip: take good shoes and an excellent disposition to walk, because the cultural landscape of Aranjuez will be enjoyed walking non-stop from morning to late afternoon. To help you optimize your time in Madrid and make the most of your visit, we have published our very own Madrid walking tours. They are electronic guides of our own that will take you through the most important must-see parts of Madrid, including food stops along the way. No need to rack your brains on how to visit Madrid, we've done that work for you. Our series of Madrid walking tours are part of our collection of walking tours dedicated to the most important cities in Spain and published through our Travel Guide Spain and Portugal brand. That has been our video dedicated to a very interesting place that can be easily visited leaving from Madrid. As always, if you have any questions about this trip to Aranjuez, take advantage of the commentary box to ask. On the screen you will see now the video in which we talk about the best day trips from Madrid so you can organize a perfect stay in the capital of Spain. We look forward to seeing you in that video.